Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
It's off, isn't it? Yeah. Hi.
Hey.
How's the sound back there? All right. We are so happy to be here with you tonight. Constellation number 17. Melissa L. Amstutz, Wiliam Erickson, and Cecily Wong. I'm Jessica, and this is Janae. And just so you know, we do have name tags over by the entry if you want to wear one. One of the reasons to wear one, if you feel like it, is because hopefully you can come back and then we can say hi and know who you are. So yes, we'd like to welcome you to the 17th constellation. We're really happy to bring together these readers, and we're happy to bring together all of you, this audience in this room, and everyone joining us via live stream. And thank you to each of you for honoring our COVID policy, which is masks down here in this space during the reading. If you don't have one, they're in the at the table in the entry. Okay, so just to acknowledge our current moment a little bit and offer a framework, we have adapted some words from a statement originally disseminated by Rawi, the Radius of Arab American Writers. We are still gathering during an active genocide taking place in Gaza. And the current violence in Palestine is the continuation of decades of colonial violence under Israeli apartheid. We stand in solidarity with victims of genocide in Sudan and Congo, and with the indigenous peoples on whose unceded traditional homelands were gathered, including Multnomah, Clackamas, Tumwater, and Watlala Cascade bands of the Chinook, as well as the Tualatin Kalapuya, and many other recognized and unrecognized indigenous nations of the Columbia River. And we do have some ways to engage in material support for indigenous peoples here, and also a particular family in Gaza who Janae, if you follow our Instagram, has been tirelessly working to connect with, amplify, and support. I think that the way to do that is right here. And through this network and Constellation and other networks via Janae, that GoFundMe has reached
over $25,000.
$25,000. And there's also a way to commit to monthly material support of this family, because what they have to come up with just to stay alive is shocking. And there's a lot of them. And all of us hopefully can, for the price of a cup of coffee, contribute to that. So we also stand firmly against anti-Blackness and recognize that police violence and all white supremacist violence must be named and opposed. These forms of violence, along with transphobic violence being legislated in several US states, endanger the lives of trans, queer, gender nonconforming, and non-binary people. And so as we begin our event, we wish to underscore that none of us are free until all of us are free. And that anti-racist, liberationist, and decolonial struggles are intertwined. And we thank the organizers who wrote and disseminated this statement for their labor and ongoing activism, among many others. So before we get on to the readings, we also have the opportunity to thank our host, who is also a reader. I've never been to a reading in which a bookseller is also a reader, and I think that is amazing because we've received so much support from you, Melissa, and from this space, and just from, I'm gonna cry now, being able to walk into this room full of all these books that are so good and so well curated. So it's really special to be able to have you here with us, and also to be here. Sorry, now I don't remember what I was going to say.
Everyone's gonna cry tonight. It's okay.
Yeah, all right, yeah, I'm just getting the crying started, I guess. So we also want to thank Lance Cleveland of Tin House. And I think without further ado, we're going to get on with it. I'll get off.
Jessica's much taller than I am. Most of you are. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Can we just clap for Jessica?
Month after month, I get up there and just keep crying.
No, just like these tears are so sincere. Jessica is just an incredible poet because she really feels so deeply, and there's just like this. No, I don't want to cry. Just this like deep well of sincerity, and it's so sweet. And she's like so happy that you're reading tonight. It's really, really real. And sorry, I'm gonna maybe a little bit messy. Thank you for talking about Tamara's family. The Abu Dayers are a family that I've gotten extremely close to, and they are in central Gaza. Well, they're split up, they're all over the place. And I talk with them, many of them regularly, and they are the most amazing people. I have learned so much about love and joy and kindness, despite like the worst things ever. So I don't even know if this is possible. And I don't know if they'll actually be able to see this. Their internet is obviously like really, really bad, but part of me wants to just like, I don't know if we can turn the camera, everybody can wave to them and just, is that possible?
It's fine with you.
Yeah, everybody, let's just wave. Wait. Yeah, wave and say hi
Careful, you're gonna.
to everyone.
Teamwork.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's still there. Okay.
Hi, Tamara, we love you. Okay, so tonight, and there's many ways to support this family materially. I could talk about them all day. Ask my husband, he's like, okay. But ask me any questions. I'm so happy to amplify their story. And now tonight is so special because we have Melissa, and Bishop and Wild is like our accidental partner. So Lance Cleveland of Tin House invited us into the space to help activate it when it was really just an empty space. And then just a couple months into the reading series, he was like, hey, there's this cool bookstore, Bishop and Wild, and they're thinking about maybe leasing the space and moving in. And we were like, well, that's cool. We didn't really know what to expect. We thought it would be fun and a really cool thing to be able to offer books and to be in a bookstore setting, but we had no idea. And then we met Melissa and her then partner, who is also here, and we were like, oh my God, they're awesome. And so after all of these months, we've gotten to know Melissa really, really well, and she's become like a really, really dear friend. And one of the things that is so special about this space is that it really is a community space. She uses this for readings, for community events. Everyone is welcome. She has a lot of books here that are from local authors. This is very much a space of love for the local community. And then we found out that she's a poet. And we were like, oh, you have to read with us. But if you feel the love of this space, we took a month off. We haven't been here since June. We take July and December off.
We have pent up feelings.
Sorry. This is such a special space because everybody is so generous and sweet and so warm to all the readers. And part of that is because of the way that Melissa has set the tone. She brings so much love and generosity and just delight and joy here. And so thank you for. So thank you. I'm so excited to be able to introduce you. Melissa L. Amstutz, she, her, is a writer, musician, and owner of Bishop and Wild, a queer bookshop in Portland, Oregon. She received her MFA from NYU, and her work has appeared in Tin House Online, Smartish Pace, and the Wigleaf Top 50 Very Short Fictions. Her music videos have been featured on Interview, Nylon, and Bust. And I did a little internet stalking. And she's got a website that's really well designed and super cute. And you can look at her music videos, and she's so cool. Thank you for being
God, how am I supposed to read after that? Constellation has just been the most amazing external partner. We love you so much. I love you. So I am a poet, but I've been writing this hybrid memoir biography of 3 women, and I decided I would read from that tonight. It's a work in progress, but it's something I'm really excited about. So 2 of the women were these avant-garde expat queer writers writing in the mid-century in New York. And one is this terrible, terrible human, ex-lesbian, former Syracuse queer theory professor named Rosaria Champagne Butterfield. Okay. There's a cinematic montage on replay of my childhood house in Nebraska. Winter, an empty cold in a blue gradient, sunflower bedspread, singing along to Broadway musicals, tiptoes on the cold carpet, looking out oval windows. Lawn clippings, yellow foam, silent summer out on the roof, curling iron, sponge painting the walls. It was dark. It was sunlight streaking down hallways. It was reruns, moody family dinners, holding hands. Thank you for this food and bless it to our bodies. In Jesus' name, amen. It was cleaning every Saturday. It was a long spoon clinking the glass as I fixed my dad's some iced tea. My sexuality was odd, insular. Trying on sparkly bras and thongs bought on sale at the mall. I would layer them all, add a skirt and a shirt, stripped by myself in front of the mirror. I had no queer role models growing up, especially no queer women. I still struggle to find peers, friends, heroes. I looked for them everywhere. I read spine after spine in my bookstore, and I found The Talking Room by Marianne Hauser. Dear Marianne, I've put on Leonard Cohen so long, Marianne. Were you familiar with Leonard Cohen? I regret to inform you that he has passed on like you. I also regret to inform you that you're in danger of being forgotten. And that's where my dueling desires come in, for you to be remembered and to keep you for myself. I'm increasingly preoccupied by whatever this is I'm creating, not fully realized. I'm preoccupied by you. Most people have no faces in my drawings, especially the women. I like best the ones unfinished. I still think of my sketch in high school of wolves tacked on the wall with the others. A boy saying, "The cross-hatching on the ears looks good. I wish the rest looked like that." I'm the rest of the wolves. My life is the rest of the wolves, but I'm archiving my fully alive self. I research, focus in on strangers just as diligently. These women I can't get over. Ursula Molinaro, I repeat her name so often, it rolls so magnificently, whether spoken or silent. I looked for them in bookstores all over DC today to no avail. I'm back in my hotel room, one of my vices, anything to give me the illusion of power. The being left alone but taken care of, the slippers, the folded towels and fluffed pillows, the windows, cigarettes, alcohol. I'm watching a music video on my laptop where a queer woman winks at the camera, at her fans, and pulls on the collar of her jacket, enacting sexuality, the mental and emotional truly driving the physical. Ursula Molinaro, I looked her up at my bookstore and we had 2 books in stock, Encores for a Dilettante and Bastards, a Footnote to History. I pulled Bastards off the shelf and opened it to read. For Marianne Hauser in Friendship, Ursula Molinaro, Xmas 1979. Ursula's author photos are as follows. 1, her nose, mouth, and chin. The rest of her face is taken up by a very large, very floppy hat. 2, the back of her head. 3, her in the dark in sunglasses, the only light stemming from the twinkle lights she has wrapped around her fingers that she holds in front of her face like a web. 4, the back of her, standing at a Dutch door, hands up at the window. Same floppy hat, and it's clear she's wearing the same outfit as the other photo, probably from the same photo shoot, though the details are better seen here. The fringe of her sweater, her painted nails, the 2 rings on her left hand. And my favorite, a self-portrait she painted from the photo described in number 1. She's mirrored herself, and the effect is 2 Ursulas in deep conversation, like women in the background of Impressionist paintings, brought to focus and studied. In the talking room, the test tube was the father, or wasn't. Marianne's writing is so oblique, actual plot points are often indiscernible, almost as if her words are to be picked up and felt, sounded out, or looked at like a painting, anything but merely read. Reading anything regarding the narrator's father still makes me wince, as I will never call my, as of yet still unborn, child's donor anything other than that, their donor. He will provide the sperm donation in order for my wife and I to become mothers. But in the 1976 talking room world, Jay is the narrator's mom and Jay's partner is Aunt V. Of course, it's more complex than this. And now I know the only one wincing is Marianne in her grave over my nitpicking, my vocabulary, and identity policing. Because it was 1976 and she was writing about lesbians having a baby, and this is what drew me to her, yes. The woman who wrote this story, the Pulitzer-nominated woman who wrote a story so close to my story nearly half a century ago, when there are still so few to be found today. Rereading parts of this novel just now, I was struck by a passage I'd forgotten, one where Jay gets her period after her and V have been attempting to get pregnant. Will their union ever be blessed? Marianne writes. Yesterday, I was curled up in one of the Adirondack chairs in our backyard, crying on the phone to my best friend after telling her my period came. Why am I not being given the desires of my heart? I tend to still speak in pseudo-evangelical phrases like this, especially when I'm talking to people also raised in that bubble, not unlike the return of an accent when calling home. These phrases are embarrassing even as I say them, as it's actually scripture I'm quoting. Delight yourself also in the Lord, and he shall give you the desires of your heart, Psalm 37:4. And implies desires are doled out by a deity. I don't believe in the Bible or even a God, and shook off the last vestiges of religion more than a decade ago, yet it's hard to unlearn a philosophy so intricately woven into your psyche and beaten into your bones. That things happen for a reason. Good people are rewarded, bad people are punished. People who delight themselves in the Lord are given the desires of their heart. Intellectually, I know this line of thinking is not only preposterous, it's wrong. My friend doesn't respond with, because you aren't delighting yourself in the Lord. She sighs, listens to me weep, answers, I don't know. I researched Psalm 37 and learned it was actually written as an acrostic poem. An acrostic. Centuries and centuries of people following an acrostic. I have a dream of dressing up in Ursula's clothes, or clothes she would have worn, putting on a record of hers, a wig if necessary, reading aloud, turning, laughing. Maybe it's their influence, my waning interest in therapy and greater confidence in non-Western medicine and astrology, numerology, all considered alternative, pseudo, even heretical. Heresy, Ursula reminds me in her word portrait of Hypatia, once meant choice of a view of life other than the norm, before Christians turned it into a crime of otherness. Marianne fervently practiced Tai Chi, considered an internal martial art, which balances one's chi. The slow movement's almost a dance, a flowing precision seemingly contradictory. I think of Marianne practicing alone. I think of her walking down the street with purpose and grace. I think of her sitting down at the end of the day, going to bed. I sit in my ugly office chair in the dying light and persistent heat, taking pictures of myself, after pictures of myself, searching more than documenting. Ursula refused photos and believed they stole your soul, harmed and exposed your inner life, hers, that she didn't so much bury as barricade fiercely. Maybe I've had so many photos taken that my compulsive self-portraits are now an attempt to locate my lost soul. Vanity is, of course, expressly forbidden in the Bible, and so in Bible-believing households, in of which, of course, I grew up, which I'm increasingly revisiting. Marianne and Ursula, my sign of swords, my Ursa and Minor, guiding my attention there, burrowing underneath my eyelids until they reach my prefrontal cortex and force a fixation on my religious upbringing, if only to let them be a while. If this is some sort of spell of theirs I'm under a possession, I'm a willing participant, joyful even. Were they summoned or was I? Because I like following a rule book, weirdly as I'm recalcitrant by nature. Form is hard to find in terms of my writing. Apparently I'm eschewing it altogether, but getting to that point has been difficult. The terror of freedom, the comfort in confines. It's been helpful for me to hear Marianne in her own words, own voice, talk about how slowly she works, how long it takes her to get published, how many rejections she's received. Still, she persevered. How fragile is my ego, that one fellowship rejection, and I'm crying and shouting at my wife, scaring my poor sensitive pup off the couch, huddled next to the door now, where I want to be, walking through the doorway outside of myself. What a terror I become, ranting, putting my vegan sausage in the microwave and tears spilling out as I blubber on about feeling like a fucking loser. Like Kim Kardashian in the last season of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, the penultimate episode. I keep thinking about this clip. She's sitting on a bed talking about her marriage, but I connect with her performed emotion on an unexpectedly personal level. The torment and pure agony of her face, the words fucking loser reverberating through her body. Fucking loser. It's so hard to feel and easy to admit because feeling is a solitary act, therefore lonely and terrifying when it's something like being a fucking loser. Whereas admitting it is easy because admitting failure is something people connect with and you're sort of off the hook. Who would ever expect anything from a fucking loser? It all comes back to vanity, ego, kill them all. I thought so many times of ending this project and read horrible writing advice today. That was basically to abandon any projects you feel are taking too long, that you're getting lost in. That starting a new project will be exciting and you'll find yourself writing 10 times faster. I just don't always think that's true or good. Some things take time, simmer and burn into you more slowly. It made me feel protective. Don't make me throw this project away. It made me think of the famous kill your darlings quote, and I thought of my darlings being you, Ursula Marianne. How could I get rid of you? What would my life and book look like without you? Kill people who give writing advice. Keep your lost, unwieldy, slow darlings. People forget about the timelines of queer history. How recently queerness has become accepted, even normalized, if not everywhere, at least in the Western culture at large. We've made unimaginable strides in such a relatively short span of time that it's easy to develop a sort of collective amnesia surrounding the queer struggle. We've assimilated into the mainstream, but the fight continues, even if only internally. While watching the documentary A Secret Love, I was taken aback when these two women, together for over 60 years, said they were cousins on a phone call with their doctor. But the week before, I told the seller of a desk on Craigslist I needed to measure my space, instead of admitting I needed to check with my wife. I'd already measured my space, I just didn't want to out myself. We carry the burden of queer history as well as the burden of our personal history. Lindsay and I first planned our engagement as an elaborate road trip documentary where we try and get married in each state across the United States and film the responses. By the time we actually married 5 years later, it was legal at the federal level. Not that we're ever quite safe. So few queer stories are allowed to be told still. We have to be exceptional in order to be heard, as we're still an oddity, a niche market. I've been researching another woman at the same time, a truly horrid woman. I don't think I can just smash together every piece of writing I've ever conceived or produced and call it a book, but can I? Because I come from the world of Rosario, Champagne Butterfield now relishes. Any flicker of my old self, my old mindset leads me back to her, or more precisely allows me to envision following that trail deeper and deeper. Scientific questions, existential threats. What is it that finally closed her mind and opened her delusion? Rosario's latest media blitz promoting her new book is what has propelled me into her world again. It's not just the newness, it's the spectacle 3 times over. Lesbian feminist becomes pastor's wife got old, needed updating. Rage radiates from her very being. She looks tired, haggard. Her hair never appears brushed. The worst parts of her have become amplified. Her ego swollen and unbridled, her bitterness seeping out every pore, a bully mocking other people by name. She is Rosaria 2.0, cartoonish, horrifying, and somehow mesmerizing. Rosaria Butterfield Exposed, my imaginary headline for an imaginary publication where this would not only count as news, but the writer, me an atheist lesbian, would be trusted. Rosaria keeps mentioning the church militant, how there can't be a church triumphant without the church militant. Meanwhile, in Maine, a gunman, a veteran recently hospitalized for psychosis, roams the streets after shooting and killing 18 people with an AR-15. Dozens wounded, schools on lockdown, entire cities. Meanwhile, in Gaza, at least 40,000 Palestinians murdered by Israeli forces. Israel cutting off supplies of food and water, bombing hospitals. A genocide over there sponsored by our own country over here. Fascist theocracy looms, lingers, struggles, and forces its grip around our wrists or necks. Warrior pose, child's pose, corpse pose. When I think about the form this biography takes, I think of it as a biography or memoir of emotion, the felt as opposed to the experience. Or perhaps the mind simply not placed secondary to the body. Who says what the body experiences is less real than what the mind perceives? A biography of the senses. I think of Rosario's own dissertation on Mary Shelley, where she wrote fictions are not lies. Rather, they're narrative recastings of events unrecognized by history. There's an artist I've had a fleeting mini obsession with, someone who hides her queerness and reveals it in signs and symbols for anyone paying close enough attention to notice. This artist makes me hope there's a world where Rosaria is desperately signaling for a way out in code, messages written in between the lines of her terrible books. What would it say? What could she possibly convey in secret and why? Something like I hate it here? Something about how I can end the book knowing the obsession of queer women, the love of queer women will live on always. We make our own spaces, ensuring our stories live on. Sometimes I tell people I'm writing a book about 2 dead lesbians and an ex-lesbian. Sometimes I tell people I'm writing a book about a monster.
All right. Thank you, Melissa. That was rad. It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce William Erickson, he, him. And Will is the author of a few chapbooks, as well as the full-length collection, You Don't Have to Believe in the World, which is new this year from April Loman. Which is neither a correction nor a prescription nor especially true. He spent many years as a tradesman making windows for houses that already had windows. William is watching a hummingbird. He is watching a hummingbird die. He is watching it fly away. William lives with his partner and 2 dogs between many windows near the bottom of Washington State. And how lucky for us that he does, because we have, I think I can speak for both of us, super enjoyed having Will as part of our community. And for me, like, I remember sitting next to you at a thing, Armin organized a panel, I think we were on a panel together, and then just like slowly discovering what an awesome poet and awesome person you are has been really wonderful. So we are so pleased to welcome William Erickson.
Well, now I'm shy.
Only now.
How's it going? Good. All right, man. It's such an honor to be in this space. Like, this space is just so full of love and loved ones and friends. Yeah. Thank you. I was thinking to myself, can you hear me okay? Am I loud enough?
Gotta get closer.
I was thinking to myself earlier today that I knew a few people were going to be here and I didn't want to read them the same poems that I've read them before. And then as I was looking through this book, it began to be really hard to figure out what I've read before to you people. And I thought that it would be easier if instead you just pretended that you've heard these for the first time, only now.
Poems are meant to be read over.
Thank you. Duly noted. To make acquaintance. I jump in the ravine behind your house one evening, folding into the earth like an unblooming apple, like a star in the morning, how it finally succumbs to the pressure of my eyes holding everything in them at once. Such friends I used to have, such longing and such friends. I always preface this poem by telling everyone that it's my wife's favorite poem. And that's the preface. Interview. I applied for a job at the beam factory. How about your experience, they ask. I beamed over a city, I say. Beamed over a lake in the hills. A beam above oceans. A beam atop dunes. A beam into silence. I beamed a beam that became a baby with arms in this world, and the last thing I heard was the door to a room where the light was closed up. So there's a bunch of inventions that kind of function as little interstitials in this book.
You might be a little too close to the mic now.
Am I? Am I like?
No, we're on it. We're on
Okay,
it.
okay.
Okay, it's good.
I can also just yell. It's totally fine. Anyway, inventions. These are free game if you want to take them to the patent office or whatever. Inventions. I invent a love machine. You type yourself into it and wait, but nothing happens. You're on your deathbed. Everything is white. The paper, the keys. Picking apples. There's a really great orchard in Poughkeepsie where hearts grow. We walk the rows hand in hand, small talking below the beating that bobs the branch tips. They drip when it rains, go silver at night, grow silent. We walk row by row for many, many years until one day a murder of crows does what murders of crows do. Black feathers, a whole sky. This is not the life I'd imagined, I tell you. This slender line in a waste, this shadowy red sea, this soft, heavy rain that slips down and in and hurts sometimes and stops sometimes. Alice, are you hearing me? This one will bring up the levity. Carmen knows, I'm joking. Inventions. I invent a way to hold hands with everybody you love all at once. The pressure is too much. When it's on, you're crushed endlessly in a tragic, laughing accident.
Very well.
Dear cut glass, it's been longer than I thought this trail of blood would go, but the mountain is so much smaller at its peak than when we drew the dust, than when we drew those pictures into the dust on your windshield. Do you still have it, that baby we made from all those leftover dinner conversations? Remember, we named it Alice and called your parents with the news, but no one answered. The sky is falling is a thing we'd say when it was the only thing that wasn't. How in the thick of it we've gotten. How frightened awake by our own restarting pulses. Like, isn't this the way we're told to grow? By holding ever so softly to the last of our parts going quiet. The last time I read from this book, I tried desperately to find this poem, and I couldn't find it, and I fumbled around for it, and so I'm going to read it. Because I found it. Free the horse. There is a horse named Free who dives from a 3-story ladder at a zoo in St. Cloud once a week. On the way down, his whole life plays before him like an old film, bleary and undone. He forgets his mother and father. He forgets he was born. He forgets how terrifying it is to watch an irreversible thing going backward. This is the best invention in the book. It truly is. Inventions. I invent taking pictures of refrigerator notes and sending them to coworkers over the internet. The last of the milk is all yours, for example. Or I found your pond to be oddly swollen. Sometimes they politely reply, but most just do nothing. And that's when it happens. We all climb aboard the boat, but the boat is a voice in a cold spell. I'm just going to read a couple more from this book and then maybe read some newer stuff that's a little more fun. This poem was supposed to be the first poem in the book, and somebody talked me out of it, and now I think it should be. Pistils and Stamens. I left my body in a pile of leaves, thinking the fall colors an effigy, a sun, red giant, someone to miss me. My body and I gravitate weakly around the secrets between us. Constellations bloom from its ribcage, pollinate in me. Breathing exercise. My real lungs are not inside my ribs. 100 tons of river. To hover ever so softly over everything is everything. I'll draw a breath, a ghost, a face, a petal from the rain to dry. Alice, oh Alice, my spine is coming loose. You mentioned something about killing your darlings, and I too am extremely averse to that concept. And so I've been making sonnets out of lines in poems that I'm like throwing away. And I've got a little teeny tiny book of them. So this is the 5-poem warning, but these are sonnets, so it's going to take a second. High concept. Tuesday, a man was shot from the porch swing. We're all a little scared of sitting still. A shop man may now choose to live forever, a dumb frost painting his fields of practice. My wife describes a tickle of the brain. My roof is taking a dip into clouds. I spend nights convincing myself there is no wrong in nurturing my terrors. I have an eye from which a circus beams. My knees are no more durable than a bird who clunks a window like a ball of bones, like a little black letter in the grass. I know that poem like my muddled goals. The seas say one thing forever on repeat. Sonnet for the Big Bang. I'm moving this thing around.
It's inevitable.
Chill out, Chloe. These are exciting poems. Sonnet for the Big Bang. I've made several attempts at the margins of my thoughts. In a dream, I ducked careening fabric, my jacket too tight like the seawater is. Every night, I ask, who taught you sleeping? I ask for a long pole to poke the stars with, horrible, hormone, horoscope. I regret ever actualizing most memories, how I arrange my shirts like steel bars of the soul. My knee cracks open and winter escapes. A quiet pasture scuttled with maples, just one more poem to enter the day. I hear you boil water, and what I am changes. Little red flower, a sorry of the grass. It's so big now, it's completely vanished. Just 3 more. Bear with me. I just titled this today, like right before I printed it, because I needed to match the other ones that have titles. I think it works. Dear Remember, a big rain really wrecks everyone at once, like a snow cone of the throat, my whole act dematerializing the categories of whether we fell in love in, flicker, fountain, flat on my face. Your irises are looms of my terrible clouds. Your corduroys sputter a wave of black light, and in the blood my sorries make professional horrors. Dear Crying is a better name for this poem. For a chair, for the April over a black vine, and not a gloaming, it is a delicate image that caulks the seams of the folks in this country where my sorrows paint some big stupid shit. Thank you again for asking me to read. This has been really lovely.
We're so happy.
I love this space so much. Sea change. My palms are lake-shaped and attainable. That hollow blue that fumbles into lamps. My lover stays in bed like a spring carrot under one big goal. Suddenly, a bright rip in the sun, and we are change. A big new hello. Our normal shit twisted over the grove of my misdirections, becoming, beckoning, bicep, building those dim insecurities through which my bad sight extends. My go-backs are an immensity engine, a dresser drawer of unnoticeable jabs. The moss on my wrist is a little forest of forgetting that I toss into your suffer river. And I'll just leave with this last sonnet. It's 14 lines, I promise. Nightlight poem. Dog in the sun, sleeping. A bullet is ripping its way to earth. Doctors all agree the big disease is want. I spend my nights convincing myself there is nothing wrong with so many fears. I wonder if the sky knows my disappointments. A couple stars blotted in my field of vision, blackening apple on the infinite sidewalk. Perfectly, the green bag of my heart is tipping into the childish energy of dogs. It does this over and over, and then plants burst forth with the dim enthusiasm I have for the temporariness of self. This poem could be anything erasable. Thank you so much.
Oh my God. Will is the sweetest. Like, he literally printed out like a book.
We'll have some books for sale.
My heart is racing because I'm so happy. Like, this is such a special event because these two are like such an important part of this community. And we just love you guys so much. So what's special about this place to me is like how much like of a community this feels. So it's really cool that we have the two of you who have like held this down. I remember like I didn't know who you were. Like I saw you here and I was like, who's that guy with all the cool tattoos? Like he's just here all the time. And then there was like Will Erickson, who's always like on social media, like blasting out, like, come to this reading, this is the best. And then when I put the two together, like, oh, that's that guy. And then we got to know you, and you're just, anyway. It's really special to have you here, but what's also so awesome is to like bring in a new person and like just really start recognizing people, and you come back and like get to experience this. So we're so excited that you're here. Cecily, thank you for joining this community. Cecily is the author of 3 books. Her debut novel, Diamond Head, was a Barnes & Noble Discover Great New Writers selection, recipient of an Elle Readers Prize, and voted a best debut of the 2015 Brooklyn Book Festival. Her second novel, Kaleidoscope, was the best book of the month at BuzzFeed, Apple Books, and Today.com. Cecily is also the co-author of a New York Times bestseller, why can't I say that word?
Obscure.
Obscura, that's like an easy word. Obscura, an explorer's guide to food. She lives in Portland with her husband and 3-year-old daughter. Please help us welcome Cecily to
Hey, this is so nice. I really do feel like the new kid here. No, it's like really lovely. It's nice to know that you all are gathering so much and like there's so much love in this room and what a cozy, like charming space and it's lovely to be here. Thank you for being here. I'm gonna read from a novel that I'm working on. It's just it's so nice. I was talking to Melissa about reading New York and seems like a good space to do it. So I'm gonna put my mask down here. And does this sound fine?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Bathroom, can we hear in the bathroom?
Does that sound
Okay,
okay? Okay, cool. Yeah, it's the beginning, so hopefully you don't need to know anything. Hopefully. Okay. When the cafe closes on Saturday night, your mother makes a meal for you. She fires a wok and pours oil in the shallow well, the sounds of her cooking like a well-worn song on the radio. The first few notes unmistakable, swaddling you in time and place and feeling. You stand at the sink washing the night's dishes, metal utensils and cheap plastic plates stained yellow with turmeric and scented with garlic, and blindly you try to untangle the music. Always garlic, yes, but then something floral and piney. You inhale a deep, sharp petrichor and think, coriander, a blade slicing the stems. The pop of oil meant she was frying a steady boil in soup or curry. You turn around, watch your mother's back as she works, her dark, muscular arms close to her sides, steam and smoke wafted above. The string lights are on, the soft yellow bulbs casting shadows on the outdoor kitchen tucked below your house. By the time you set the dishes to dry, wipe the 6 plastic tables and the condiment trays, your mother is done and the night begins. At the table, she spreads the Saturday meal before you. Eat, she says, wiping her hands on the apron tied at her waist. Her dark hair is pulled into a bun, her cheekbones and jawline delicate and angular, contoured by the overhead light. At 48, she's only intensified, distilled into a character both charismatic and grim. Sometimes you catch her like this, the mood framing her just right, looking like the subject of a documentary about the slow creep of time, the luck of it all. This beautiful, disillusioned woman who might be somewhere else had the dice been thrown just a little softer. It looks good, you tell her. Your eyes move across the dark, caramelized eggplant, the crunchy drape of the salad, the glossy pyramid of meatballs, perfectly, lovingly rolled in her water-slicked palms. The meal spread before you deserves a word much stronger than good, but your mother is weird about compliments. This you could tell her without hesitation, that she's hostile to praise. She'd like this, actually, your mother being the kind of woman for whom that would be a compliment. Her refusal to be flattered, a show of some antiquated feminist strength. But her aversion to praise does not make her modest. Your mother is the most arrogant person you know. Stop stalling, she says. Then she opens her first beer and drains it below the label. I'm not stalling, I'm trying to give you a compliment, you lunatic. Your mother smiles. I got you this time. When you were a teenager, these nights had a different quality, a teacher and a student, an air of sanctitude. You were still learning then, sharpening your palate, using your mother's facial cues to guide your way. Back then, all your answers were guesses, shaky at the end. But when you got it right, the praise, God, your mother's praise, it was golden and hot, made you forget the strange shape of your life, spending yet another Saturday night with your reclusive mother, tasked yet again with identifying the ingredients she'd hidden in your meal. The Saturday ritual is like going to church, something you do because you've always done it, because the point of religion is to practice, to find deeper and blinder conviction within it. Before you knew it, Saturdays became the best day of the week, and now you're 28 years old, sitting across from your middle-aged mother, your best friend and relentless leader, tinkling with the desire to crush her, metaphorically. The palate you've honed through years of devotion, that thing which keeps all faith alive. You reach your fork to the pile of salad, which looks suspiciously naked, glistening almost imperceptibly in the dim light. You stab some leaves and stuff them in your mouth. Chili, you say, that pulse of excitement making you greedy. You shouldn't have said it. No, as soon as you do that, it's a mistake. You're not ready with the rest of the ingredients. Your mother swoops in. Chili, she says, smiling, shaking her head, like telling a wet person it's raining. You hold up a silencing hand, still chewing. It's a good sign when your mother jabs. It means the air is looser. The night could get fun. Recently, your mother has stopped eating with you. She drinks her beer, maybe 2, sometimes 3, pokes at the food, opens her bottle of whiskey, and then all her sentences get exclamation points. You move the salad around your mouth, collect your data, then look your mother dead in the eye and swallow. Part of the pleasure is in the performance, trying to douse each other's confidence with more confidence. Chili, you start again. Toasted coconut, pickled shallot, tamarind, lime. Your mother's expression doesn't change. What more? She asks. You shake your head. Nothing more. Your mother leans back into her plastic chair, arms crossed, tries to dim the creep of her smile. To anyone else, this might look like she's mocking you, but it actually means you're right. In addition to praise, your mom isn't good at being impressed, so when she is, she likes to hide it. You, as a result, are a glutton for victory, a praise monster, an unapologetic striver. In all the ways that we are not exactly our mothers, what else can we be but exactly the opposite? You beam, happy for yourself, take your plate and load it up. You can't help but be excited to eat. Saturday meals are when your mother allows herself to riff, to fuck around the way she did when she was younger. You feel the exuberance in her cooking. The whimsy you fear is beginning to wane. It feels immensely intimate, implicitly special. You could say that even now, despite this woman holding you always at arm's length from a normal life. Your mother, the mercurial lunatic, is widely known as the best cook in your village. Any person not eating at home is likely sitting in her cafe. She's talented in the regular way, intuitive with a walk, her palate more discerning, more dynamic than any recipe. She's also a creep. She spies in her dining room like a jealous lover. She observes her customers as they eat, remembers not just what they like, but what they leave. Then, without them knowing, she tailors her cooking. Carrots magically disappear from curry, pickled greens multiply. She keeps track of which husbands like to say they want spicy, but really want medium. And which want their beer brought without question, so it can't be turned down by a wife. Her kitchen is the singular place in which her mother is accommodating, humble even. Sure, she'll ridicule them after closing, call Mr. K's sensitivity to fish sauce an unattractive cultural defect. But during restaurant hours, she's easy breezy. She wants her customers to enjoy, to be happy. It's you she wants to mold a certain way. Typically, you taste one dish at a time, but tonight you spoon the eggplant onto your rice, dark sauce running across the plate, then top it with the meatballs, contaminating everything. You like the feeling of your mother watching you, considering this move of idiocy and strength, and you agree. It's both. But you're 28 years old, you live alone with your single mother, and sometimes, like a long-term marriage, you must shake new life into your perpetual companionship. You eat the whole plate, finish it without a word. The eggplant is soft, practically disintegrates in your mouth with a crisp skin slicked in a glossy umber sauce. This dish you could recite in one breath, a classic recipe she riffs on a couple times a month. She soaks the eggplant in salted water, fries it in sesame oil. Tonight, she's added star anise, hardly enigmatic. But the meatball has you stumped, mostly because it's not meat. You're accustomed to this cognitive dissonance, the mismatch of what you think you're putting in your mouth and what's actually in your mouth. Your mother finishes her second beer. 3 streets away, music starts up from the bar, a cheap, shaky bass you can feel in your ass. Bass you can feel in your ass. It's after 9 and the night people will arrive soon. The music will go on until someone complains, it's not you or your mother, who have learned to sleep to it like crickets with a gentle trickle of a stream. The truth is you wish you hadn't put the not meatball on the saucy eggplant, which admittedly is making the deciphering harder. Your mother senses your weakness. She always does. Need a hint? The eggplant is easy, you say. Your mother nods. The eggplant is clearly not the problem. Holding on to your composure, you stab a third not meatball from the serving dish, knowing that this is your last. you have to leave your mother too. Even if she doesn't eat them, and she probably won't, you won't give her the satisfaction of needing more. It's not meat, you say. Is that your guess? You inhale through your nose, hating your mother, which somehow helps to concentrate the flavor on your tongue. You take a minute, line up the ingredients in your mind, check them against your firing taste buds. It comes to you. You clamp down on the rhapsodic feeling that always comes when you're about to turn the tables on your mother. Mushrooms, water chestnuts, garlic, cilantro stems, green onion, sesame oil. She waits a moment. Nothing else. You open your eyes. It takes all your strength to hold your face straight. Tilapia. Your mother screams. A cackle of delight that explodes in the village night. Old Mrs. L pokes her head from the window next door. It's often she who shuts the bar down, lumbering down the street in her nightgown, breasts swinging. You yell up an apology, try to stifle your mother's glee, but it can't be stopped. She's sucked into the abyss of motherly pride. Her pleasure will not be stifled by village etiquette. She opens a third beer and finally tastes one of her experimental mushroom fish balls. It has a gorgeous texture, springy and moist with a subtle, elegant crunch. She tips her head back and yells, "My daughter is better than yours." Mom, you hiss. No. Yes, she says. You're wasted in this place, and you know it. You have a mixed relationship with these heady proclamations. On one hand, you like them. In a village like yours, with a mother like yours, you can't help but secretly agree. On the other hand, this is why you and your mother have no friends. Lately, you feel it's your burden to play humble. When the praise comes, it arrives with such profusion, such overwhelming conviction, it feels like it might drown you if you don't kick your legs a little and swim away. Have you ever considered you might be slightly biased, you say? No. Your mother looks at you like you're an idiot. I'm not biased. I'm smart. And I'm good at what I do, and so are you. And if you're too dumb to recognize that, what can I do but tell you? You're smart, Lay. You're better than every person in this dump. You were never meant to live here, and you're going to find a way out. You blink into your lap, trying to still the overwhelming feeling of being the sole object of your mother's wild affection. On Saturday nights, when your mom starts to drink, to really drink, she gets swept up in a hurricane of dreaming. She tells you you're destined for better things with the conviction of someone with the power to change them. The tone of these talks has shifted steadily over the years, from blind confidence to confident pragmatism to whatever this is now. These half-aggressive, half-flattering rants that, while still laden with hope and possibility, signal that you are getting further from your mother's dream of taking you both to America. For as long as you've been sentient, it's been America. It's never wavered, never diminished in its power. After her parents' accident, what woke your mother from her stupor was America. A curly-haired man from Illinois had come to teach at her school. He brought with him pictures of his life in America, everyone enormous and smiling, thrilled to be alive, long-limbed boys hanging from cars, girls leaping above fields of grass, a mother posed with a gigantic poultry, smiling, their relentless teeth and overlapping bodies always touching. It felt ungodly, all this happiness, all this carefree health. Your mother felt insane, imagining that there was a world in which people felt this way. America hit her like a frying pan, revived her to the world, and she never uncoupled this feeling from the country. America. Someday it would rid her of all the shit she'd been handed, and stubborn as she was, she had not changed her mind. Thank you.
As Judy just said, you heard it here first. And we do have some copies of Kaleidoscope here for sale. So we hope you will hang out and buy some books. You're welcome to stay down here. We also have quite an array of food and drinks upstairs. So that's a mask optional space. Down here is masked. We're so happy that you're here. Thank you for coming and making Constellation what it is. We hope you come back.
Can I buy a copy of,
Yeah.